So who are these individuals on the WaterOne board? We broke the story yesterday that a woman in Prairie Village is staring down the barrel of a $3,000 water bill. Carolyn Bond, she's in her 80s. Fox 4 covered it last night in their 10 p.m. newscast. Credit to them. But listen, the story originated right here on KCMO. I'm glad they did it. The more attention, the better. But on top of that, I also found out this morning that Carolyn Bond is going to have her water cut off in 8 days if she does not pay her $3,000 water bill. It was $2,000, but she's been fighting this, and they continue to add interest charges to it. So this is what your local water company is doing to a woman who lives by herself in her 80s when her water bill is normally $30 to $40. It's sick. And you have people who are on the water board who are elected. Let's not forget. They are elected. And until yesterday, I couldn't name any of them. They are Whitney Wilson, the board chair, Melanie Kraft, the vice chair, Renee Dinsmore, Kay Helly, Bob Reese, Jill Westra, and Ulysses Wright. 7-member board. So I started going through the bios of these board members, and I wanted to see if, just out of curiosity, kind of what their backgrounds were and who they are, and, you know, if there might be any themes in their backgrounds that stand out above the rest. And there are some key phrases that you will notice in the backgrounds of these individuals. The board chair, Whitney Wilson, writes here in her bio, Whitney is passionate about environmental sustainability. Whitney is engagement co-chair for Climate Action KC and volunteers to bring sustainability tools and resources to local government, business, and community. We've talked about Climate Action KC before here. They have summits around Kansas City. You can imagine what their agenda is largely based off of. I think they were big fans of Tesla until they weren't big fans of Tesla, until they started hating Elon Musk. But, you can imagine what a group called Climate Action KC is all about. So that's your board. You go to some of the other members here on the WaterOne board, and, you get a similar kind of individual. Let's look at this. Renee Dinsmore. What is her background? Well, she's a lifelong Kansan, bachelor's degree in public administration from KU's School of Public Affairs and Administration. On top of that, says here that she advanced to the school's doctoral program, where she has completed the master's program and is finishing her doctoral dissertation in analytic decision-making with a focus on climate change policy. She is passionate about environmental management, social justice, public health, and use of evidence to guide public policy. Fascinating, because so much of environmental management, social justice, and public health in recent years have not been based on a whole lot of evidence. Interesting. Let's go to another member, Kay Healy. Kay Healy's background, according to the WaterOne.org website, brings to the board a lifetime of volunteering. Climate Action KC. There it is again. Big advocate, big volunteer for Climate Action KC. Kay serves on the Climate Change Committee for the American Water Works Association, from which she earned certification as an AWWA public water official. Okay. Another common theme there with another WaterOne board member. Interesting, is it not? Then let's go to somebody else here on the board. Let's go to Jill Westra, an environmental scientist, 20-plus year career in environmental consulting and corporate sustainability management. A lot of environmental stuff in here, wouldn't you say? Which I don't have a problem with. I want a clean environment. I think we all do. But so much of that word has been corrupted and combined with things like climate change, environmental sustainability, We all know what the agenda has been when that word is oftentimes based in the conversation. So I see so many of these themes show up for these WaterOne board members, and it's hard to not come to an obvious conclusion here that you have people who are very much politically motivated in these important positions, and none of us know who they are, myself included, until yesterday. Until I find out about an old lady, 83 years old, who's getting hit with a $3,000 water bill, and the WaterOne board that is elected by the people is basically telling her to pound sand. No, I know. They'll say when the bill was $2,000, they offered her a $700 discount. Are you kidding me? Your water bill's normally $30-$40. It comes in at $2,000, and they offer you a $700 discount, and you're supposed to be like, sure, I'll take it. May I have another? Could I have one more? Come on. This is a disservice to the people of Kansas City is what this is. And now we're starting to learn who some of these people are and why these school boards matter, why the WaterOne board matters, why your city council matters. And, the reality is this. There are going to be local elections here in the spring on the Missouri side, and the turnout's probably going to be 10%. That's just the reality. I wish more people were interested in them, but they aren't. I've been looking at it now for 7-8 years in this town. And it's not unique to Kansas City. It's true across the board. People just don't care. And I wish they did care, because when you get hit with that $2,000 bill, you know what? Suddenly you're going to want to know who these people are. And you're going to want to care about who these people are. And by the time you care, by the time it impacts you, unfortunately, it's going to be too late in too many cases. Dennis is in Bonner Springs. Dennis, you're on KCMO. Good morning. What's happening?
Morning, Pete. Hey, I live out here, as you know, out in Leavenworth County in my rural water. When they replaced the water meters, my first bill was the water usage went from like 1,800 gallons to like 14,000 gallons. And what it was, because this is a small district, I think they might have 1,000 patrons, and the people that actually run it care. It's a one-office lady, the contractor that does the...
is this, Dennis, is this WaterOne?
No.
Okay.
Let me explain to you what happened. The meter, when the meter was replaced, it reverted back to basically months ago. And I'm wondering if that's something that could have happened to this lady, because once they checked it, it took them like 3 minutes to figure out, oh, wow, it reverted back because it's automatically red.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right, because here's what happened here. What happened is, and she told this story yesterday on the air. It's up on the podcast for anybody who wants to listen. What happened to Carolyn Bond, who is, yes, if the name sounds familiar, ex-wife of Kit Bond. What happened to her is that her meter was replaced months after this bill came out, but WaterOne never admitted it was a meter problem or that it might have been a meter problem. As has been speculated, that could be because they've got a lot of outdated meters, and if they start admitting to these outdated meters getting incorrect readings, they could be screwed in a big way. And that's something that they may not want to admit, at least not publicly. But I've reached out to some of these individuals. I know Fox 4 reached out to some last night, and no one's talking. I mean, no one's saying a word right now about any of this. And in the meantime, you have a little old lady in her 80s who was walking around with a cane after getting, hip surgery last year, figuring out how to pay this bill. And as she said, she can pay it. But to her credit, she's fighting it. And she should keep fighting it. It's easy for me to say, but listen, that's a lot of stress on someone in their 80s. It's a lot. So I give her an immense amount of credit for being willing to fight it, because a lot of people would say, I can afford it and I can't deal with the headache right now. I just can't. But bringing attention to this story is incredibly valuable for a multitude of reasons. And now she's got to figure out what to do, because if not, they are shutting off her water on March 19th. after claiming that she used 260 gallons of water in 6 weeks of April of 2024 through May of 2024. That is the equivalent of filling 4,300 standard bathtubs for a single woman in her 80s. It's insane. 913-408-7957. I know we'll get to more of you here coming up on this, but I think it's valuable to know who these people are on these boards that none of us could pick out of a lineup and what their intentions might be and why, there's a much bigger picture here for some of these folks as well. Pete Mundo on KCMO 95.7 FM. On the text line, Pete, I heard Carolyn Bond on your show yesterday. Very interesting to learn she was married to former Missouri Senator Kit Bond. Yes, we noted that yesterday and at times this morning. I don't want to make that a part of the story because it's not the reason that we are bringing her story to the forefront. It just is kind of a sidebar of the story. And I have no connection, relationship to Kit Bond. I never met Kit Bond. And to prove to you I never met Kit Bond, I called him yesterday, the late Kit Bond. He's not dead. He's alive. So just so we're all on the same page, I don't want it to seem like I'm bringing this story to the forefront because of the politicians that are kind of quasi involved. Never met Kit. As of yesterday, I thought he was dead till I looked him up and I realized he's not dead. I just figure if you get a bridge named after you, usually that signals something. But anyway, that's not the point. Has nothing to do with it. Carolyn was a lovely lady, and I'm glad we're sharing her story because, man, I am just getting flooded on social media and elsewhere with people having WaterOne issues. And this came in, an anonymous tipster just shared this with the fellas on the other side of the glass. And I will not even share the gender of this person. They said they could not go on air because they would be recognized and they would be fired immediately. But they shared with the guys on the other side of the glass that we need to keep digging into the story, that we are on to something, and that this needs to be continued to be investigated. That was the note we got from an anonymous tipster who works for WaterOne just during the break. Now, something else that piqued my interest here on this whole WaterOne story, I was sharing with you some of the backgrounds of the board members, and there's a lot of, social justice, environmental science, climate action, KC organizations, and volunteerism, and all these different things going on with the majority of these 7 board members. And what's also interesting is one of them I mentioned, Kay Healy, volunteer, Climate Action KC, and so many other groups. Well, her son is a guy who's on the Overland Park City Council. His name is Logan Healy. He is a former press intern under Barack Obama. He is also very active on his social media. People that change their Facebook profile pictures with the cool, I use that quote very facetiously, that cool little circle that has some virtue signaling message on it. He's a big fan of those. He's got the LGBTQ trans flag as one of his circles, stop abortion bans now, equality, diversity, acceptance circles. So you get an idea of where this Overland Park City Council member stands, Logan Healy, and his mother is on the WaterOne board. They have a long history in Overland Park. Clearly, the politics are very much in your face. So this stuff is all kind of coming together for me, and we're going to continue to dig into it here on KCMO Talk Radio. 913-408-7957. Let's go to Derek in Oak Grove. What's up, man?
Hey, listening to this, high water bill, you're saying that there's a lot of people having issues with WaterOne. Wouldn't this be the perfect thing for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to handle? That's who you would call in this situation, because the water company has a lot more power than just a regular person, and most people, $1,000 emergency is pretty much going to put them on their ass, and they're not going to be able to do anything now.
Yeah, that may be one place to go. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
That's the point of it. That's the recourse that you have. That's the point of having a strong Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They return more money than the government spends on that department. Like you're like, it's the problem is diversity, and if I had this bill and I was talking to my representative and they were like, oh yeah, you've got to vote your city councilman out, and the problem is they want to do environmental protection and diversity, I would be like, dude, what are you talking about? Who is going to help me fight back on this bill? And the answer is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the problem is they are trying to defund departments like that. That is the facts.
How much do they want to cut from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau?
They got rid of. Didn't they already get rid of the person that was in charge of it?
You tell me. You're the expert.
How am I the expert, dude? You're the one that's on the radio. And answer my point about this.
Wait, I'm just asking you. You called up and you know you had your big moment, so I'm asking you for the evidence of this because I don't know everything. I'm not pretending. I don't pretend to know everything. You brought up this angle of the topic, so I'm just asking you to answer your own questions that you are now claiming.
Are you going to let me answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I don't know exactly who the head is right now. I know for certain that they are defunding government agencies, and this is an issue that agency would handle, and these consumers would be benefited by that agency having more power. Tell me how I'm wrong there.
Yeah, because you're assuming that any potential agency, you're assuming that any potential agency that suffers a cut is somebody who is definitely helping the little guy, and that any cut that's ever made to an organization is going to hurt the output. And if you spent any time in the real world, you know that's not true.
Pete, tell me what they're going to do then. Tell me what they're going to do. Tell me how they're going to solve this.
Solve what?
Her bill. These people calling in about their bills. What do you not understand?
Dude, I don't even know if she's even know if she's gone to the board, you genius. How do I know if they're going to do anything about it when I don't know if she's gone to the board?
You said they're not responding to anybody.
I didn't say anything about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You brought them up. I haven't mentioned them all morning, you doofus.
Yeah, you're mentioning diversity. And
now we got to dump you because you're cursing. You give a guy a little bit of a rope and he decides to bury himself. It's like... I'm just asking you the questions on the topics that you bring to the show. I'm sorry, I can't help you help yourself here on this stuff. And no, I don't know everything about everything. I promise you I don't. Some of you might be surprised by that.
Talk about a bombshell.
But I really don't. But if your insinuation is back to the Doge cuts, like, this is why we can't have Doge doing its thing, because any time you are cutting anything from a government agency, it's going to mean that the output of the agency is going to decrease. The quality of the agency is going to decrease. Really? I mean, the private sector does it all the time. Southwest cut, 15% of their staff a few weeks ago? Did they fall off a cliff? Are they going to fall? Are they going to keep, running airplanes and stuff like that? Or do they figure out ways to be more efficient? That's what we're talking about here. Wes, I got a minute in Gladstone. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, boys, a lot to unpack there, Pete. First of all, anybody who makes a living talking on the radio is not an expert, okay? Let's clear that up first, okay? But the reason I called was I got involved in a case where there was a leak on the utility side of the WaterOne meter, okay? The water followed the water line into the foundation of this house, saturated the clay soils, and caused them to shrink and swell and caused all kinds of damage to this foundation and all through the house, right? Had them dead to rights. This is what caused it. Their attorney, to her credit, got them out of the case because somehow legally they were protected from being sued. Okay? That's who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Besides all the nutcases who are on the boards, that's who you're dealing with, man.
Mm-hmm.
So they're protected legally somehow from being sued for any damages that they may cause to your property, okay? So they're really they're sitting in a good position. You have to remember, they came in, bought up all the municipal water
Gotta run, Wes. Gotta run. I gave you a lot of rope there, buddy. I'm sorry. I really am, but I'm up against it.